Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Johnson City Board of Commissioners to order for Thursday, May 17th, 2018. If you'll please rise for the invocation by Richard Long, Johnson City Police Department Chaplain, and then stay standing for the pledge.
The scripture says in Isaiah 55:6, seek the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is near. And he says to us, my thoughts are not your thoughts, and neither are my ways your ways, my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. May we pray together tonight. Lord, we know that tonight from Scripture that you can turn the hearts of the kings. And we know, Lord, that we should be praying for your will to be done and for our leaders to seek you, God, and to listen to you. And so tonight I invoke your presence over the proceedings of this Johnson City Commissioners meeting, and I pray further for these things. I pray that they may be God-fearing and recognize they are accountable to God for each decision and act, that they be granted wisdom and knowledge and understanding, that they recognize their own inadequacy and pray and seek the will of God, that they too respect authority and practice accountability, that they be given godly counsel and God-fearing advisors, that they be timely, reliable, and dependable, that they be thankful and may they have a thankfulness and teachable spirits, that they may redeem their time and know their priorities, that they desire honesty, integrity, and loyalty, and that they have courage to resist manipulation, pressure, and the fear of man. And most of all tonight, oh God, I pray that they will be honest and faithful to their spouses and to their children. For it's my prayer in the wonderful name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start, Mr. Peterson, we've got two items to add to our agenda tonight. We've got a request from purchasing for Parks and Rec playground surface replacement and a temporary beer license for the young professionals. Do I have a motion to add these to the agenda?
Mayor, I move that we add each of those items to the agenda, please.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Peters?
Yes, and it pleases me to say, Ms. Jennings, we're glad you're back.
Thank you.
Mayor, while we're altering the agenda, I would also request of the commission to pull item E1 under the consent agenda. That is the Liberty Bell Cafeteria Gymnasium.
Very good. Do I have a motion to remove that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Peters?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of the minutes of your meeting held on May the 3rd.
Any edits or comments?
Move approval.
Discussion? A motion, how about a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
I'm passing. I was not there.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Peters?
Yes, you didn't watch the live stream?
I was busy, sorry.
At this time, we'll do proclamations, resolutions, and presentations, beginning with the proclamation recognizing Police Week. If we could ask Chief Turner to come forward, please. Chief, you got anybody else with you?
Is this on? Yeah. Can never tell. Well, Chief, I'd like to read this proclamation for you, and please pass this along to your men and women, uniformed and ununiformed, that we appreciate what they do every day. We certainly keep them in our prayers and thoughts, and we'll do so even more this week. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation that designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which that falls as Police Week. And whereas more than 900,000 sworn law enforcement officers bravely serve in the United States, and approximately 150 of those guard the security of the citizens of Johnson City. And whereas since 1791, more than 20,000 officers have become fallen heroes while protecting the innocent from deception and the weak from oppression, including 128 in 2017. And whereas it is important that citizens understand the duties and responsibilities that law enforcement officers assume, the hazards they endure, and the sacrifices they make each day so that we may all live safer, more peaceful lives. Now, therefore, I, David Tomita, Mayor of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, in conjunction with the national observance, do hereby proclaim May 13th through the 19th, 2018, Police Week in Johnson City, Tennessee, and call upon our citizens to honor our officers who so bravely ensure that this community is safe, and also pay tribute to those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. And there you are.
Thank you. A few words. Just want to thank Mayor Tomita and the Board of Commissioners, and also Mr. Peterson for their support and leadership every day, and also a chance for us to pay tribute to the fallen officers across the nation. And I want to accept this on behalf of the men and women of the police department.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mayor, is the presentation of the employee scholarships. If we could ask the recipients and Mrs. Shown if she would come forward, please. And parents of recipients,
Come on up.
these are the really important folks.
Yes, thank you. Oh, no, Mayor. You present.
Come on.
certificates. I'll just say a few words. To you. Okay, thank you. I'm Keisha Shown. I'm here on behalf of the Employee Scholarship Committee. The Employee Scholarship Program is fully funded and administered by city employees for dependents of city employees. So we want to thank our employees who give to this very worthwhile cause. We're pleased that tonight we get to award the maximum amount of $750 to each of our employee scholarship recipients. And we also have a very special scholarship that is provided by our former city manager, John Campbell. The John W. Campbell Scholarship is $500, and it is awarded to a currently enrolled college student at either ETSU or Northeast State. So I'm going to call your names, and Mayor, if you'll present their certificates, and if you guys will step here for that presentation so we can take your picture. First, we have Andrew Duncan, son of Jason Duncan from Water and Sewer Services. Andrew is going to Milligan, and he is undecided on his major right now. Thank you. Callie Justice, daughter of Travis Justice in the fire department. Callie is going to Northeast State, and she is going to study elementary education. Cameron Keenan, daughter of Sherry Keenan in administration. Cameron is going to College of Charleston to study biology. And our John W. Campbell recipient is Leah Kidd. Leah is the daughter of Pat Kidd in Public Works, and she attends ETSU and is majoring in nursing. Not here tonight, I just want to mention Lindsay Jenkins, daughter of Jeff Jenkins in the police department, and Caitlin Weaver, daughter of Ryan Weaver in the fire department. They do not have to be present to win, so.
Well, that's too bad, because I've got a senior that sure could use a little extra. And if any goes unclaimed, I'll be happy to. Thank you. And again, I think it's important that we reiterate that is all funded by the employees. There's no taxpayer money that goes to that, so it's a great thing that the employees do.
The next order of business, Mayor, if we could ask the Liberty Bell Middle School boys soccer team to come forward for presentation of a proclamation in
It's
recognition.
these guys over
of-
here, right? I got a sneaking suspicion our room's going to clear here pretty soon.
I thought they had to stay for the whole meeting.
They do. Well, unless they know the song, then they can leave. Well, gentlemen, we're very proud of you, and we just wanted to take a minute to recognize what you've done and present you with a proclamation. I think we've got enough for everybody. If we don't, we'll make more. So whereas the 2018 Liberty Bell Middle School boys soccer team achieved an incredible level of success during the 2018 season, finishing with an 11-0 record to become conference champions. And whereas the team successfully completed their 11th undefeated season. Wow. And whereas tremendous sportsmanship, integrity, and character were demonstrated by players Aiden Bennett, Brennan Colley, Hayden Forrester, Carter Graham, Jesse Green, Harper Jennings, Bridger Jones, Jonathan Keenan, Freddie what is it? Kuda, thank you. Let's see, I've got one of those names too, so I'm sorry. Emmanuel Ruiz, Landon Smeltzer. That's why Coach is here. I saw you walking in tonight. Carter Strode, Logan Turgeon, Grant Whitaker, Luke Whitaker, Gabe Wilson, and Sebastian Zattini. And whereas the team was led by the outstanding coaching staff of head coach Edwin Santana and assistant coach Becky Earp. Now therefore I, David Tomita, Mayor of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, do hereby congratulate the 2018 Liberty Bell Middle School boys soccer team on a remarkable season during which they successfully and admirably represented our area on the conference stage. We are proud in each of every one of you. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand you all one of these, but if everybody would just like to introduce themselves.
I'm gonna let you guys go first. Mr. Grant, start down here.
Just Sam Carter.
Just say your name and sing a song if you want.
Okay.
I'm Carter Graham.
I'm Luke Whitaker.
I'm Carter Strode.
I'm Bridger Jones.
I'm Brendan Colley.
I'm Grant Whitaker. I'm Hayden Forrester.
I'm Landon Smelser. I'm Logan Turgeon.
I'm Harper Jennings.
I'm Jonathan Keenan.
Coach Edwin Santana.
Just want to tell us a little bit about your season?
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say thank you again to Mayor Tomita and the board. It's truly an honor and very humbling for us to be here. But yes, the boys had an outstanding season. They carried on a tradition that was started well before my time, 11 years of undefeated seasons and conference championships. So I've been here, this is my 5th year. So the boys have been undefeated for 5 years. The girls' team's been undefeated for 7 years as well. So like I said, it's a rich tradition that's going on from Liberty Bell. And the former coach, who is now the coach at Science Hill, Coach Strickland, who has good things going on up there as well. So we'd like to thank him for a tradition that was started with them and that these boys have carried on. So again, I just want to commend the boys for their outstanding work and play on the field and for the characters that they presented themselves off the field. Great group of boys. Thank you, guys.
Anybody not here?
Make sure you get it.
Congratulations,
y'all.
guys.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
job.
Good
Good job.
Look forward to seeing you up and playing for the Toppers. Great. Thank you.
Thanks. The high school talk. Yeah.
That was last week, wasn't it?
Now, you do have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Chief, will you send them back in here, please?
At this time, Mayor, if we could ask the esteemed, honorable, and youthful PC Snap to come forward. for a proclamation, please, sir.
Former mayor.
Former mayor.
Yeah.
Mayor, all right. Well, Mayor, we just wanted to celebrate the fact that you're still with us. You've got a 80th birthday coming up very soon. We should all be so lucky. I suspect I will not be around for that.
Never won't live as long as we're 79.
So we just did a proclamation for you. I'll read it now. Whereas PC Snap was born in Limestone, Tennessee on May 19th, 1938, and moved to Johnson City when he was 5 years old. And whereas, after attending Southside Elementary and Science Hill High School, he graduated from the downtown pool room. Is that it? Downtown pool room? Yeah. And East Tennessee State University in 1961, happens to be the year I was born. Then worked for the City of Johnson City Planning Department before obtaining a master's degree in city and regional planning from the University of Tennessee in 1967. And whereas a former U.S. Marine, PC Snap, helped shape Northeast Tennessee as we know it today, serving for 30 years as the regional director of the Upper East Tennessee State Planning Office, and for 14 years as executive director of the Johnson City, Jonesboro, Washington County Economic Development Board. And whereas his public service extended beyond professional endeavors, he was the president of Town Acres Parent-Teacher Association, a longtime member of the Kiwanis Club, was elected to the Johnson City Parks and Recreation Wall of Fame after spending 20 years as a Little League baseball coach, served on the Johnson City Planning Commission and the Washington County Tax Equalization Board, and served on the Johnson City Board of Commissioners for 12 years, 2 of those as mayor. And whereas the city experienced incredible growth during its tenure on the commission, including the following accomplishments: the city's first sidewalk building program in 50 years, which we're still working on today. Still, the first curbside recycling program in the state, the construction of 5 new schools, Iris Glen Landfill, that had to be something else. Millennium Center, the new Johnson City Public Library, which we're still very proud of, Winged Deer and Willow Springs Parks, and 2 new fire stations. Now therefore, I, David Tomita, Mayor of the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, do hereby wish PC Snap a very happy 80th birthday and commend him for a lifetime of service to his community, region, and state. There you are, sir. Thank you, Lord.
Mayor, I would like to thank you and also the City Commission. I know what you all have to go through, and I certainly appreciate the job that you do. And let me say one other thing, too. Even though you may not realize this, the people in the community realize the effort that you all put in, and I'm very appreciative of it. I actually thought when I was called down here that I was finally getting a pothole named for me, but I see that that's not so. Anyway, I would like to introduce some people that are here that I know. C.B. Kitch, where's the police chief? We need to lock him up tonight for what he thinks, whether he's done anything or not. And beside of him, Jimmy Starr, Mike Ford, Mayor George James and his wife Sandy. And over here we've got Mike Lacey, Bob Cummings, Dan Mahoney's probably here anyway. And I would like to introduce another person. Well, my son Mike is back here. But if you've never seen a live angel, you see one sitting here on the front row, Kelsey. We used to, every weekend, we would go pick Kelsey up and bring her to the house. And the reason I say she's perfect, never, ever did she pick anything up unless she asked first. And of course, in my house, it was no holds barred. And sitting beside her is one of the sweetest people I've ever known, my wife, Mary Ann, who really helped me get elected to the City Commission and was instrumental in it, as a matter of fact, because one might say she is the star of the straw that stirs the drink. So anyway, one of the things about Mary Ann that she, I think the first tailgating party that anyone had was a barbecue, and either 50 or 40 tickets were sold, and she sold 35 of them. And the thing is, people bragged on me for doing that. I stood up and grinned like a mule eating briars and never said anything about what she did. But she did pay me back, probably tenfold. because I'm definitely a Tennessee fan, and I had a flag to put out, and I put it out every week, every time they played. And the thing is, that's back when Tennessee was a powerhouse. And anyway, it was a nip and tuck game against one of the Mississippi teams. And right at the end of the game, I think the Vols were up by 3. They kicked the ball and they down inside about the 15-yard line. About less than a minute left on the very first play, one of their backs got the ball, ran the distance of the field, and you would think the Tennessee linemen were sitting there with eating a bag of popcorn. It looked the same way as they chased them down the field, because then Tennessee was behind, had to kick. No, they didn't kick. The clock ran out. So then I go out and get the flag. I look up and down the street. I see a lot of eyes behind all the trees, across the street, and behind every bush, laughing at me. Well, as I start in, she puts this laughing machine on me that is absolutely the most obnoxious thing you've ever heard. I don't know if you've heard it or not. It starts out, oh, 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 and just keeps going on for about 15 seconds. The thing is, if I had killed her, I could have gotten off for that, I assure you. Now, however, if I were in the state of Mississippi, when I would put an electric chair, somebody would put that blanket machine on me then.
Tell you that way.
So anyway, I want to thank you all, everyone, for coming out. And I would like to thank you, Mayor, and also the commission for this. It's a real honor, and I appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Commissioners, your next order of business is consideration of a certificate of compliance for Aldi Incorporated, doing business as Aldi number 80. This is a certificate of compliance that allows them to sell wine and spirits. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Mayor Tomita.
Yes.
Next is consideration of a beer license application for Aubrey's Incorporated, located at 3029 Hamilton Place Drive. This is for a Class 1 on-premise beer license. The appropriate reviews having been made, finding no disqualifying factors, the recommendation is for approval.
Very good. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
You want the restaurant address?
Restaurant's fine.
3029 Hamilton Place Drive.
And have you read the rules and regulations regarding the sale of beer in
Yes, sir.
Johnson City?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand those
Yes, sir.
rules? Do you agree to abide by those rules?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, sir.
Do you have any questions for the applicant? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second and a second and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor
I know.
Brock.
Okay.
Mayor Tomita.
Well, if you leave, we're not going to issue it. I'm kidding. Yes, and if you'd just like to take a second, tell us about your
Like when you're
restaurant.
gonna open.
Yeah.
When you're gonna open.
We're going to open up on Monday. We're doing family and friends. If you guys are interested in coming down and seeing us on Friday or Saturday between 4 and 8. We're serving to the public just to give some practice to our staff and stuff. Depending on when we start serving alcohol, but we're planning on opening up on Monday for regular business. And we'll be open every day from 11 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and then Fridays and Saturdays till 11.
Well, good luck. We're glad you're here.
Hey, we appreciate you. Come see us.
Thanks.
Anybody's interested, come see us this weekend. okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next is consideration of a temporary occasion license for young professionals of the Tri-Cities to sell beer on Friday, May 25th during the Founders After 5 event. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors. The recommendation is for approval.
Is the applicant here? Denied. Let's see. What's your pleasure?
I'm okay with moving ahead. I know Jenna, who's a part of that group, is very responsible.
We will not meet before the event happens,
That's right.
so.
I
Okay.
will move for approval.
All right, very good. We have a motion. How about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tomita.
Yes.
Next is consider two appointments to the Washington County Board of Equalization. Currently, you have Polly Peterson and Al Spritzer serving on that board. They are concluding their first term, and both have expressed interest in being reappointed.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. How about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tomita.
Yes.
Next order of business is consider street closure requests. The first being a street closure request made by the American Cancer Society for the Real Men Wear Pink Block Party to be held on Friday, May 18th. The request is to close a portion of Spring Street from 7 p.m. until 11:30 p.m. We would recommend your approval.
Very good. Is the applicant here tonight? If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Deborah England, 2012 Hampshire Street in Johnson City.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
I think Commissioner Van Brocklin, since he's got a pink shirt on, should make the recommendation.
I'm always supportive.
You don't need a reason to wear pink, right?
I don't need a reason, but I'm happy to wear pink for this purpose.
Very good. Was that a motion?
I will move approval.
Very good. How about a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Yes.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tomita.
Yes. Would you like to take a minute and tell the millions of people watching us about
Friday
your
night
event?
at 8 o'clock, we're going to be at Barley Waters, and there's 20 Real Men Wear Pink that are going to be raising funds for the American Cancer Society.
I think I've seen a few of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank
Hope
you.
to raise a lot of money.
Next order of business is to consider a request from the Johnson City, Washington County Veterans Memorial Foundation for a street closure to accommodate the run for our Veterans 5K to be held on Friday, May 25th. This is a request involving portions of various streets between 3:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. The appropriate reviews have been made, and the recommendation is for approval.
Very good. Would you like to state your name and address for the record?
Brenda Barnett, 1009 Skyline Drive, Johnson City.
Questions? If you have any questions for us?
No, just appreciate the certification. Thank you.
I'll move for approval of the run.
Have a motion?
Second.
A second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin.
Pleased to be supportive, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wise.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Mayor Tomita.
Yes. Good luck. You want to tell us about your event?
Well, we're very excited because we're expanding. We're now going into phase 3 of the Veterans Memorial. And with some gifts from the state recently, we're getting very close to our goal. We hope to begin construction no later than next month. And I just want to convey on behalf of the foundation members our sincere appreciation for your continuous support of our efforts. The best place for our Veterans Memorial is right here in Johnson City, Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Your next request is consider a street closure from USA Cycling to accommodate the Johnson City Omnium to be held on Sunday, June the 3rd. This event takes place downtown. It will begin at 7 a.m. and end by 5 p.m. The appropriate reviews have been made. The recommendation is for approval. And just as a comment, downtown Johnson City is experiencing a very successful redevelopment downtown that includes new and expanded retail, restaurants, residential dining, office uses. And as a result of the growth, there's a growing variety of diverse interests and concerns about what goes on downtown. The dynamic nature of a growing downtown certainly creates the need for continual review and assessment of how we address things such as parking, road closures, location and number of special events, and the impact that these activities have on the businesses and the residents of the downtown area. In addition to my recommendation to approve the road closure request before you this evening, I'm recommending that we create a working group to review current practices and policies and have the group make recommendations back to us for improvement to our current practices to ensure that the things that we do downtown are conducive to continued growth and harmony in the downtown area.
I would agree with that, and I would like to request that they come back with a recommendation to us fairly soon. We spoke about this the other night, and I guess, so not to repeat later, I think it's important that all of the applicants know with a road closure, there is nobody who can affect a car to be towed except our police department. There's nobody, those sitting up here included, that have the authority to have a car towed from public property. That's some of the challenges we've had have been regarding that, and but I think we should make that clear now. But yes, and with, what is it, Mr. Mabry says, make haste slowly, or make, something like
He
that.
says it's all good.
Quickly, it's all good,
It's
yeah.
all good.
As quickly as possible. I'd like to see that recommendation come back, because we are in event season. So sorry to delay yours. Any questions for the applicant? Who, if you'd give your name and address.
Renaud Dubberly, 1712 Jackson Terrace, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Very good.
And I commend Mr. Peterson about his comments. It has been very frustrating for our 10th application for a special permit for this event in downtown Johnson City to get, after the permit application of March the 27th, to get the first contact on April the 20th, that there would be a meeting for me to attend on May the 18th. And that would be the first time that we would review. Subsequent to that, on April the 23rd, I got a list of requirements for special events that are completely contrary to the published requirements for special events. So resolving those issues would be very helpful. The Johnson City bicycle race, which we did first in 2009, when I went to the downtown restaurants and merchants, that was the Sunday, the first time that we extended Blue Plum to a Sunday. And it was also the first time at my request, because we would have people down there on Sunday, that the restaurants downtown opened on Sunday. And for the last 9 years, they've been open on Sunday. So we are very strong in developing the downtown. We think our event has been beneficial in developing the downtown. And I think the surveys that have been done by the chamber have shown that we're bringing in about $200,000 to the community, and I think that's very supportful. So we would like to definitely be with you and work with you. The difficulty, of course, is when you change the rules a week before the event, it makes it a little bit
Well, would you
difficult.
like us to delay decision on your request until we've given you sufficient time?
I've got the new rules. I'd just
Okay.
like to have them to be quantified and publicized, if
And
those
that's
are the
what
new
we-
rules.
Again, this is probably a little
Well, y'all
off
have
of
had the
what we've.
discussion.
Yeah.
So
we've
I'm
had this
supporting that.
discussion.
I'm with you.
And every applicant will receive the same packet.
Mr. Dudley,
I'm looking forward to that.
Could
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about the significance of the event and,
Well, one of the things is that we've had a couple of things. One is the fact that the type of person that we bring in here are top professionals. The licensed racers in the United States total about 66,000. That includes 9-year-olds, high school students, college students, and the average income is over $100,000 a year. So we're introducing our community. We bring in over 50% new people every year, so we're introducing new people to the community. I went down to Anderson, Alabama, and Athens to 2 big races here in the last month, and the racers down there say several things. One is we have a unique set of courses, which includes the homegrown and especially the downtown criterium that we have here. Because of its multi-corners, it's very, very highly rated among the riders. They say it's their best. The addition to that is the fact that because of the community and the outdoor opportunities that we have here, our surveys also show that each rider brings 1.2 people with them. So instead of having 400 riders, we have 700 plus people down here, 800 people that are enjoying it. And that's what I heard from the riders when I was down in Alabama and Georgia, is that it's a place they like to bring their families also, because we have the unique opportunities there in June to be a nice, cool mountain area. So it's been a big impact, and we appreciate the city. The city's been very supportive, and so we appreciate it. And the new design that that Anthony Todd's group has done for parking signs that I first saw at the Christmas parade is very positive. That will also, I think, help us in the situation that we're trying to resolve with special events downtown.
Very good.
Just one other question. Our event that we have here, where, from a participation standpoint, I mean, is it one of the bigger events that fall into this category, or?
It's either the largest or second largest in the state of Tennessee. It is classified in the permitting from the USA Cycling. They have F events through A events, A being the biggest event possible. We're a B, and we are the only B in the state of Tennessee. So it's a major event, and the riders all over the country, but mostly the Southeast, recognize it and come. Of course, we've got a repeat this year of the Columbia national women's team out of Columbia, South America. We've got the New Zealand winners last year, the Belarus winners last year. So we're bringing in people from much larger than the Southeast, but that's only a few of the people. The majority are Southeastern people that come also back to participate as tourists in our area on non-race weekends.
So if you could speak to the potential spectators, do we get a lot of spectators to come down? And if so, where should they go for the best place to watch?
Well, the spectators that come with them, the 1.2, are here to spectate, and one of the reasons they're here is because this is a unique venue with restaurants and microbreweries with on-course seating that is unique in the United States. And that is a unique resource that Johnson City has to offer, is where the spectators can spectate in a European fashion of being able to sit on the sidewalk, have their dinner and beverage, and be able to participate in as close bicycle competition as there is anywhere in the world, including Europe, because we have ended our races, the vast majority of them, in a few inches sprint, because it is a very challenging course, and it's been there for the most of the riders. Our pro riders for the last 10 years, the person who won in 2008 is Brent Bookwalter, who's racing in California today in the biggest race in the United States. He's never come back because he's moved on up in races in the Tour de France. We've never had a pro come back from our event, because whoever can win our event is on their way up in races, and we only offer $12,000 for our race prizes, and the other races are in the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
Very good. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes. Good luck.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks.
Your next request is a street closure request from the American Legion Kings Mountain Post 24 to accommodate the Veterans Parade to be held on Saturday, November the 10th. The request is for various streets to close at 7 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, November the 10th. The appropriate reviews have been made, and the recommendation is for approval of the request.
Very good.
Good evening. My name is Brian Lozon. I'm the commander of the American Legion. We're down at 409 Market Street, just down the street from me here. This year, as you're aware, this is the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, which would be on the 11th of November, which would be a Sunday. So the Saturday, the 10th of November is our target date that we think is best for the community. We've already contacted a number of veteran organizations here in the Johnson City area, as well as the school band and junior ROTC programs, and they seem to be interested in participating in the event. We know that historically, the Armistice Day Parade, later renamed as Veterans Day Parade, was ongoing quite in earnest all the way through the 1950s. Somewhere we stopped having the Veterans Day Parade. We don't know when. No one can put their finger on that, but it doesn't matter. We're going to start again. It's time to do it, and this is the right time. Not only is it the 100th anniversary, but it's the 99th anniversary of our post, so the following year will be our 100th anniversary. And we think it's going to be a good event. It probably won't be as financially a benefit to the community as other programs might be, but it will be the first time, and we intend to make it an annual event here in Johnson City.
Very good. Any other questions?
Move approval.
Motion, how about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your efforts.
Yep.
Next, I would ask that you take up the matter that you added to the agenda, which is the Carver Park Playground surface replacement. The recommended proposal came from Playcore, Wisconsin, doing business as Game Time, at a cost of $89,931.45. And as you are aware, this is to make corrections to an install that was done at Carver that was found to be unsatisfactory, and we need to get it fixed.
When was this originally awarded,
A year ago,
and how long should the project have taken to finish?
6, 7, 8 weeks.
So we're.
Is that right? 6 weeks or 6 months, James? James is coming up. This has been very problematic from the outset with extensive delays and broken promises and else.
The project began 366 days ago with the delivery of the equipment.
But who's counting?
Exactly. 1 year, 1 day. There has been, as Mr. Peterson alluded to, just numerous delays, issues from the vendor, to the point that we need to get it finished, and it needs to meet safety requirements. We took it upon ourselves to order an audit on the playground, which there is a difference in an inspection and an audit. An audit is much more detailed. We couldn't act on that until they said, we're finished with the project. At that point, we ordered the audit. There's numerous deficiencies, and that's why we're here this evening, to hopefully make the corrections needed.
Are those deficiencies such that they call into question the safety of the play structure?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So once awarded, how long will it take this group to make the changes?
The sole bidder, I think, announced 60 days from the time that they're given the green light from the city. I think the only delay right now would be just an insurance check. However, that vendor recently did a project for us, so I feel very confident that will happen rather quickly.
Very good. Any other questions?
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
Thank you, and on behalf of the community, thank you.
We'll start the clock.
Yes, sir.
Call them first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
The next item for consideration is the consent agenda.
The right to left, anybody like to pull from the consent agenda? Commissioner Wise?
I've cleared up any questions I had.
Okay. Commissioner Van Brocklin?
C1, please.
Vice Mayor Brown?
None.
Commissioner Fowler?
They pulled the one I was going to talk about, so.
Okay.
Very good. C1?
Mr. Peterson, we have before us purchasing for Johnson City Schools Administration, partial re-roofing of Johnson City Schools Barnard Roofing, $824,116 bid that's before us for approval. I wanted to make sure that, in fact, this was one of the items that we were considering in the PEP funding that was available, and that we're not going to be reducing what we thought we might have to work with towards funding the larger amount for the Liberty Bell additions than we had hoped the bids might come in.
This is work that was contemplated and funded through the $3 million PEP issue we did a couple of years ago. If you recall, we're doing them on a 4-year cycle. This was contemplated prior to our budgeting discussion the other night, where we still had $500,000 available out of that PEP.
Very good.
fund
That's
for
what I
other
want to
work.
make sure. I want to make sure that that $500,000 that we were hoping we would have to apply to Liberty Bell still really was there.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Any other questions? How about a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda, please.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tullio?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4653-18. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled "An Ordinance to Adopt a Code of Laws and Ordinances for the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by changing from PB Planned Business District to R4 Medium Density Residential District, a portion of certain property located along Peoples Street." This is ready for your consideration on third and final reading. Song?
Thank you very much. Mayor, this is a request for the rezoning of this piece of property on Peoples Street. It's intended to be used for construction of Dominion Senior Living Facility. Back in February, the City Commission approved this on public hearing, and also approved the concept plan. We've approved the site plan, building plans. The only thing that is pending for the project to begin is the final approval of the rezoning today. Nothing has changed on this. Staff is recommending approval.
Move approval.
Motion, a second, and any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Brocklin?
Yes.
Commissioner Wise?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tullio?
Yes.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thanks, Hassan.
Your next order of business is the manager's report. I handed out to you a few moments ago, the manager's report. This is in a different format than what you're typically accustomed to. I thought I'd mix this one up a little bit and provided you with copies of what the department heads provide me on either a biweekly or a monthly basis. It's got a lot of detail in it. There's a lot of reading there. Some of you may want to spend quite a bit of time with it. Others of you may find it a little too detailed for what you really need. The highlights of what I would bring to your attention is an update on the branding process with North Star. You all met with them the last time that they were in town. They have put together their working committee. They're in the process of developing the taglines associated with the branding process, and we expect the logos, the taglines, and the entire process to be completed sometime in August. So that's staying on schedule and moving along very nicely. The Lark Street extension through the former Optimus Park property was deferred from the May bid list that TDOT had. It's now scheduled to be on the June bid list. So we're watching that closely and trying to keep that project moving. As we've noted before, that is a TDOT project, and it will be up to them to award and administer the contract, and we will be working very closely with them to ensure that keeps moving forward. As we talked Monday evening, Phil has been working with TDAC and Bard Solutions about the creation of some stream bank protection easements on our property over in Unicoi County. It looks as though this would generate a substantial amount of revenue for us and with minimal disruption to the property there. We are continuing conversations with TDEC and with Bard Solutions to get some better detail and some proposals from Bard Solutions on what it would cost to get construction documents together so we can get a good handle on what the cost of the implementation of that program would be. As we talked the other night, that would still leave a number of options available for other uses for that property as well. We have engaged Springstead Waters to help us track applicants for the development director's position. We're on track right now, I think, to try to do interviews sometime in July to try to get that position filled. As you know, we've promoted Chief Turner from the major's position a couple of months ago, and in doing so, we created a vacancy at the major's rank, which we just promoted Captain Steve Smith to fill Chief Turner's former position. And we are beginning the process of doing a captain's assessment where we can backfill Steve Smith's former position. And when we get that done, I guess we'll have to do a lieutenant's assessment to backfill a lieutenant and then a sergeant. These things trickle down, especially when you're doing a department head or a major's position in police or fire. There's a number of positions to backfill. So that process is in motion, and once again, we're blessed to have some quality in-house applicants that are prepared and willing to step up and fill those vacant positions. The Science Hill Bank stabilization, Thomas Construction's on site, and they're moving along, and it looks like they're making pretty good progress. The completion date is to be before the next football season starts in August. Freedom Hall renovations, as you know, when we started looking at doing the UV system up at the pool, we found some structural deficiencies in the pool vessel itself. You awarded a contract to get those repairs made. Those are complete, and we're back on the process of getting the installation of the UV system going to get that project completed. Walnut Street Corridor, I guess everyone's aware that Kimberly Horn was in town this week, and they have come up with what I feel like is a good concept plan, and I emphasize it is a concept plan, but with the stage that we're in and the comments that were received this week, we're really drawing closer to the end of the master planning process, and we have budgeted money in the proposed 19 budget for hiring someone to begin the construction document development. We need to keep this going if we're committed to this project, so we will have money in the proposed budget for construction development. That process will probably take 9, 10, 12 months, which sets us up rather nicely going into the FY20 budget cycle to fund some construction activity over there to get that project moving. There will be a significant amount of stormwater work to be done, and no matter what final decision is made with the master plan, the stormwater work needs to be done one way or the other. So we're really focused on that and trying to get that going, because that's going to be a key piece to getting the redevelopment started and coordinated.
Pete, and I guess Joe also, I wasn't able to get over there to see that. I don't know if all the commissioners made it by and got to see it. If not, is there any way we could have it reviewed, that we could review it with the commission?
Sure. Well, I could tell you about it from memory, but there were a lot of drawings.
Well, no, I mean, did the drawings get left behind? Could we see them? And Joe probably could fill us in a lot.
I don't know the answer to that. I
Just
would
paint us a
assume
verbal
that-
picture.
Yes, exactly. There was lots of color. I'm certain we could get them. What they basically presented was an aerial view of the corridor as it is today, and then they set on top of it where uses might be changing or where the plan conceptually imagines buildings changing. And so one of the things you have to make clear is just because a building isn't showing up in the plan doesn't mean it's going away. But they ended up showing all of those various changes and then what they envision their use being. Because one of the things that is clear is we're not going to get the retail development down there without adding some residential component to it to really drive the increased demand and bring the development dollars in. The one encouraging thing is they were using the Summers-Taylor site plan for the middle of that corridor exactly the way that site plan is. And so even though it's a plan and it's a long-term plan, the keystone in the middle of it, the mill project, already has some pretty solid definition around it. And so we're in a position the project will kind of jumpstart because you've got that significant parcel already actively in a phase of redevelopment. But I think it would be worthwhile. I mean, even if they could, most of what they had was large scale, and they had some cross sections of the streets. They also had the, was it LDA that did the stormwater work on it? And so one of the challenges on the north side of Walnut, closer to the university, as water fills in those areas down near O.G. Kelly and Harmon Ice and those properties. And so if we don't do anything, you have all these individual parcels that have to mitigate their own stormwater independent of anybody else. And the reality is there's perhaps a more strategic and more aesthetic way, and that's to carry on what we've done at Founders Park in a much smaller way on the other side of the street, not just for this corridor, but also to get the what's it called, sheet runoff. You've got the runoff coming from the tree streets, and we need somewhere for it to go other than into the buildings and usable space. So I mean, it's fascinating to watch it come together. What strikes me about it is the complexity of all the parts and how you push on this thing, something else moves, and you need people to understand how all those parts work together. You solve one problem and cause two.
Well, it certainly becomes complex if the municipality is going to have to acquire pieces of land down through there. Pete, we've had some indication about what staff thinks it's going to cost us. Just guesses, really, I guess, what it's going to cost us to rehabilitate this corridor. Have we envisioned in those cost estimates acquiring land, or are we talking about addition now that there are obviously parcels that Kimley Horn has suggested we need to acquire? So is that going to be additional dollars over and above what that best guess estimate was?
Funny you should ask. I asked. And basically, just as the parking issue has the potential of being addressed in part by a fee in lieu, the stormwater issue, there may be opportunities where the city can create a scenario that's a win-win, and the landowner has an economic incentive to dedicate some portion of their track because it increases it gives them more capacity to build out what's left if they don't have to do their own site-specific stormwater.
Yeah, I would hope that would be the case, and obviously that would be great if it is, but to the initial question, had we envisioned that we were going to have to acquire property in case this doesn't work in that estimate that you've kind of been putting forth to us over the last couple of years?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But now, I'll qualify that based on the premise that we can proceed with the concept that Commissioner Wise just talked about. You know, there's a real economic incentive to private property owners over there if the municipality is willing to go in and put in a regional stormwater system. Individual stormwater systems are very expensive to install and an ongoing operating expense for eternity. So I think that these types of arrangements have been successfully put together in other locations, and it's a real incentive. I mean, it's like in some communities, they've put similar structures together dealing with parking. If you don't have to use a third of your lot for a parking lot, but you could dedicate a piece of your property or pay a cash payment to offset that, then that leaves you more room to build a larger building, which will over time generate more revenue. So there's a number of those types of programs that we are envisioning being able to utilize during the redevelopment. But yes, we have figured into our best guesstimates the fact that there will be some land cost involved in the process.
First budget item that you had proposed to us was just about streets, correct? The $8 million that is in the capital
The
budget.
stormwater piece will be addressed through stormwater fees. The street piece will involve streets, whatever right-of-way acquisition may be involved there. As I would expect, there will be some right-of-way acquisition involved with redoing the streets.
What was the public's, the public who attended, Commissioner Wise, what was their?
It was held as an open house, and so it ran from 4 to 8 or 4 to 7, and so I was only there for a portion of the time. The feedback, of course, was generally positive. The thing you have to be sensitive to is it's a 20-year plan, and so you had to kind of encourage some restraint and enthusiasm because it isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Now, I think with that said, fast forward 5 or 10 years, it'll be much like downtown. People won't realize, people will then realize how much it has changed, but it's not going to happen, at the blink of an eye.
Just the completion of the mill project is going to change the.
Right, and then that'll
immediately.
certainly have a cascading effect in my view, because the mill, remember, has frontage in the corridor on 3 different sides that could build up or be repurposed, and I imagine that those will feel some lift from it as well. There was one interesting, they did 2 street cross sections, and one of them showed curb parking or street parking on both sides, and the other showed it on only one, and then dedicated bike lanes. And they let participants come and indicate a preference, which of these cross sections do you just like better? And it was overwhelmingly a preference, at least during the time I was there, and what feedback I had was toward the park on one side and deal with the bike lanes. The one challenge for that is there are a lot of curb cuts down Walnut Street, and so that was just one of the variables in that corridor that are going to be challenges going forward. It's kind of hard to unscramble the egg.
But your comments in the paper were really good, though.
Thank you.
Very good. And I would be glad to answer any other questions you may have.
The Lark Street delay till June, what would cause that?
They were but they had questions about ownership of some of the properties and right-of-way questions and that they needed to get answers
So
to.
nothing that causes you to think there's some wavering interest in it?
No, sir, none whatsoever.
Could you also comment, I've already gotten a question about why we pulled the Liberty Bell bid tonight.
Yes.
So it's concerning some people.
Our committee had put together a recommendation, and that all came together late Friday afternoon, so it didn't get to the commission until Monday night at the agenda review. They have done further work reviewing the proposals and have gotten the cost reduced fairly substantially over the course of Monday night till this afternoon. And we need some more time to sift through that and work through it to make sure that we've got everything as it needs to be and that we can ensure that we're getting the best price that we can possibly get. It's no indication of a change of heart on the project or a lack of funding or desire or anything like that. We're just trying to ensure that we have everything in very good order before we ask you to.
Pete, I wasn't able to make the agenda meeting on Monday evening, so I had some questions regarding Buffalo Valley and what our intent is there at this point. Are we still moving forward with the thought of putting it in the hands of a real estate firm to sell?
What was decided Monday night was to very quickly learn more about the stream bank enhancement easements that can be sold before we move forward with the real estate firm to put it on the market. We need to get some questions answered about what is actually going to be for sale if we do the stream bank enhancements.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think we ought to continue to move forward pretty in an expedient manner with selecting somebody to put this property up for us and represent us. I don't think we should be waiting for the answers on those sort of things. I understand that has some impact on what they have to sell, but I think we can still make the choice. I'm a little concerned about not doing so for a number of reasons. I think that the longer that property sits vacant with only maintenance being done on it, minimal maintenance, the value goes down as a golf course. And I recognize that everybody likes to see it utilized for something other than a golf course because of competition with Pine Oaks. But I think that we're going to see a value decrease if we don't select, and I would use this interim period of time personally to go ahead and make that selection. Costs continue out there in the meantime too, so if this ends up being a protracted period of time and we don't have somebody in place to represent us and put it on the market, we're simply continuing to spend more money out there during that period of time. The other thing I had questions about that I don't really understand, and perhaps it was presented to the commission, how realistic is it that we get any value whatsoever out of selling land banking out there, stream banking out there? I mean, if we make it available, is it assured that TDOT takes it? Is it a 5% chance that they take it? Is it a 50-50 that they take it? You know, is it assured? Because if we're going to talk about putting a lot of money into an engineering firm coming out there and telling us how we have to change how the streams run or taking out portions of ponds and things like that so that they're not taking water out of the stream and then it going back in. You know, we could easily, in my opinion, get to the point where we have so much money involved with the engineering firm and then with the cost of actually making the changes that we don't see any benefit. We could even put money into it to do those things and then find out TDOT isn't going to take it. So if we don't know what the likelihood is that TDOT actually purchases from us and we actually have monies from that, gosh, I'd like to see that before we go very far with an engineering firm.
And that's what the information that we were instructed to gather Monday night.
And correct me if I'm wrong, my impression Monday night was that we would have that next round of information in the next 30 days by the end, certainly by the end of June.
Well, that's not a big delay, but even still, I don't see what the purpose would be in putting on hold selection of the firm. I mean, it's whatever the commission wants to do, but I would encourage you personally to continue to try to close that process.
I mean, we've got a recommendation in the wings.
Okay.
I think, you know, my feeling on an acceptance of the delay for a month was largely predicated on the idea that early indication of the value of the stream bank, and there's still questions about it, but were multiples of the offer that we had from the town of Unicoi. And at least my concern is if we list it with a realtor tomorrow, they're still selling what it is, not what its greatest value might be. And so I think it would just be helpful. There are about 3 questions we left staff with relative to the creek banking that I think if we know the answer is going to help us make a far better choice. I mean, we're talking about 400,000 or early indication are that it might have value in excess of 1.2 to depending on.
Don't
you
say
know-
it.
You know, right, well. but-
Everybody focuses on that higher number.
Well, but I didn't. I started with the lower
You did?
number. And so my point, though, is if you're talking about something that's 1.2 to 1.9, we would be being irresponsible to, in haste, to do something 30 days faster, miss the opportunity to fully understand what our opportunity there might be.
Okay, I understand that. But you do have a recommendation ready for us at any point. Okay, all right, as long as that recommendation's ready, I'm fine with waiting 30 days. I had no idea that it was that short a period of time, number one, so I appreciate knowing that. But number two, I appreciate knowing that we're ready to move forward if in fact the stream banking doesn't really look like it's going to pan out.
And hopefully we can move both of them forward simultaneously.
Well, I mean, one is not predicated on the other because we can certainly engage a firm and they're certain. I would be surprised, I would never say never, I'd be surprised if we ended up with an offer immediately. It's going to take some time before we had something to consider, and we could certainly be putting our ducks in a row as that. And if an offer came in in the absence of clarity on that question, we don't have to accept it. We're not obligated to do that. So,
Yes, sir.
I would concur that to keep moving forward would be important.
When's our next regular meeting? June the 7th? So we've got, is this a longer interim between
We've got a
meetings?
3-week here.
So, how soon do we anticipate having some preliminary? I mean, we may only be one meeting away from being in a position to make that.
And you're going to have at least one special called meeting in June.
I've heard about that.
So we'll probably have 3 or 4 opportunities between now and the end of June to make decisions on how we want to move forward. And we're obligated to be done in absolutely no later than the end of June, hopefully quicker than that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mayor, that brings us to the end of our regularly scheduled agenda.
Very good. Anybody have any comments they'd like to make?
Don't you have a band concert?
I do. They're on their third piece. The first group's on their third piece, so.
Oh, you've got a window of time.
I've got a window of time to get there. It's my seniors' last band concert. But speaking of Science Hill, I want to congratulate the boys' baseball team. Won the region. And we'll host Carnes here, sub-state, on Saturday. So we got a home game out of it. So I don't know what time, but I'm sure that'll be
Still
easy.
to be announced, so they haven't.
Easy to find, so let's get out and cheer our Topper boys to the state. Nothing else? Call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.